Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new video. It almost goes without saying that there's a ton of expectation and speculation surrounding Warhammer The Old World, and that's no surprise. There are a lot of people who love Warhammer Fantasy and can't wait to see it brought back in this new revision. And despite a somewhat slow news cycle over the last few years, things have been slowly ramping up, including most recently a comment from Games Workshop in their annual report that The Old World is soon to be released. Now on one level that feels like massive news, but at the same time this is in the context of a shareholder report that comes out every 6 months. Anything within the next 12 months in corporate life can feel soon. Plus these reports are here to sell the positives of the business. They don't necessarily speak to the same expectations that we as customers have. So to put it bluntly, when is Warhammer The Old World coming out? Well, in this video I want to try and give my best assessment, but doing so by looking at what's going on with Games Workshop more broadly, what Warhammer models and games are already set to come out, and what other circumstances could be impacting the development of Warhammer The Old World, and what signs are there that it's coming sooner than we think. Of course, I'm keen to hear your own thoughts in the comments below, but if that piques your interest, then let's jump right in. So I think the best way to start thinking about release dates for The Old World is to look at what else is coming out from Games Workshop over the next 12 to 18 months. We've just had a massive launch for 10th edition Warhammer 40k, which shows the traditional 3-year gap between Warhammer editions is still holding true for now. And funny enough, Age of Sigmar's current 3rd edition will be hitting that 3-year milestone in the summer of 2024, so it's fair to expect that we'll get a 4th edition AOS launching next year. In the meantime, we've got the Dawnbringers campaign building up in Age of Sigmar, which includes a host of books, new theme sets and a swathe of new models for the Cities of Sigmar faction. And on top of all of that, we've got at least one more battle tome and a few more models for the various factions too. For 40k, now that 10th edition's launch is over and both Leviathan and the various starter sets have hit the shelves, the focus is turning to the codexes, starting with the Space Marines and Tyranids in the fall, followed by Admech and Necrons towards the end of the year. As you can see, with many of the unit data cards already published for free, GW are seemingly taking their time with these new codexes, and that means we'll hopefully get a smooth cadence of releases over the next 18 months, alongside plenty of new models and army sets. We already know that there's a lot of new Space Marines around the corner. In Horus Heresy, we're likely to get a new supplement for the various demon factions, likely with new models to go with it, and a bunch of new Astartes units, including the new plastic assault marines. All the while, more resin units, particularly those larger vehicles, will make the transition to plastic as GW doubles down on that particular setting and story. And of course there's all of the updates and releases for the myriad of other Warhammer games, including Warcry, Underworlds, Kill Team, Blood Bowl, Necromunda, Aeronautica and Adeptus Titanicus, which will come out right across the year. Now that's a lot of stuff, but the reason I mention it all is to really show that there's a lot going on in Warhammer right now, and we can sometimes lose sight of that when looking through the lens of our favourite games. On the face of it then, you would expect that GW would want to avoid any clashes with other big releases. Similarly, they're really proud of Warhammer The Old World, as they should be, so wouldn't they want to spend months building it up, like they're kind of doing with the Warhammer community articles? Well, in a way, the recent announcement and impending launch of Legions Imperialis kind of throws those expectations in the bin. This is a brand new game for Warhammer with an extensive model range and plans to scale it over time, and outside of 1 or 2 teasers, they didn't have any real build up at all. They simply showed a fully finished game and said it was coming out a few months later. So could Warhammer The Old World get a similar treatment? One day we're just hanging out on Total War Warhammer and then bam, full box set reveal and timeline of the release. It's possible now because GW just showed they're happy to do it. But there's another issue affecting those releases, and it's a big one. If you've casually browsed the Games Workshop website, you'll probably have seen how many items are out of stock right now, and that many have been out of stock for a while. At the same time, new pre-orders often get snatched up minutes after release. On one level, that's because beyond the scalpers, there's an incredible amount of genuine interest and demand for Warhammer right now, which is great in many ways. But at the same time, there's a real supply chain issue with Games Workshop right now. We know that they've got new warehouses where there's a big dependency on automation, and they're scaling more overseas, but they're not quite there yet. That means there's a bit of a bottleneck when it comes to making the actual sprues, and that really came to the fore with Leviathan, where GW basically held back every other release and went to town on making as many boxes as possible. And it worked. But now people want other models, and you may have noticed that popular ones like Lionel Johnson are taking time to appear as standalone releases. And players are reporting massive delays in getting products that are listed as in stock and so should only take days. Ultimately, that's why Games Workshop is pushing more models in Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar into its Legends format, where they aren't formally supported anymore and have a last chance to buy a run before they disappear for a long while. By doing so, they free up capacity for new models and more consistent supply for existing models that do sell well. So what does this mean for Warhammer The Old World? Well, in short, the fact that more models are getting retired implies that GW is going to have the capacity to produce not just existing games, but new ones, and that includes models for the 9 factions supported in The Old World. You have to remember, GW won't just be looking to produce a new box set, they also need to bring back a good amount of the models for those 9 factions, and in quantities that can meet the demand, which is pretty high. So all of this shifting is really encouraging for all Warhammer fans, let alone those who want to see The Old World come out anytime soon. But, and there is a but, we still need to see a lot more before we can say the game is remotely close. To date, we've only seen maps, concept art and 3 models, all of which are resin and, as many players have rightly pointed out, are unlikely to appear in a launch set. We're also kind of getting rules previews, or at least commentaries, but nothing concrete, and it sounds like the rules are still being worked on to some extent. That then begs the question of how long they'll be testing those rules before they start the rather arduous process of finalising them, designing the core book and the whole production cycle. I'm no logistics expert, as you can tell, but that doesn't feel like something that will be done and on shelves this year, not unless we see a massive ramp up in news, which again is possible, but feels unlikely. So when is Warhammer The Old World likely to appear? Well, before I share my thoughts, I want to put it to you. What's your gut feeling, and what do you think we need to see before we can be confident it's coming? In my mind, unless we see new plastic models, rules previews, actual detailed rules, not commentary, and info on when and how the older ranges will be coming back, I don't think it's this year, and we're probably looking at either spring 2024, which I think is most likely, or fall 2024. The reason is that they'll ultimately want to stay very clear of the new edition of Age of Sigmar. For GW, it's a bit like running into an ex with your new partner. It's only going to cause confusion and drama. But after Christmas 2023, it could get quite quiet for Warhammer. The Dawnbringers campaign will be coming to a close, even if they pull out of Book 5, and we have no confirmed codex dates for 40k after winter, but we can expect they'll be coming at a gradual pace. Either way, I don't think they compete with Warhammer The Old World much. So things could be perfect for a spring release, allowing plenty of build up and extensive previews, then a launch, followed later by the same for the new AOS edition. Otherwise, I think it's almost certainly going to be the following fall. If they still haven't got it together by then they've completely strung the community along in my view. But I sense there's a bit more momentum now, and certainly a bit more capacity, which bodes well for all of us looking to get back into rank and file Warhammer. So again, those are my thoughts on Warhammer The Old World's release date, but I'm keen to hear what you think, whether you agree with me or not. Do you think The Old World is coming sooner rather than later, and what do you hope we'll see as we get nearer to a release announcement of some kind? And what faction are you looking to play? Let me know in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, please do click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to join me for future Warhammer videos, and I hope you'll come along for my next one. Until then though, take care.